Hello, Pre-Algebra B, and welcome to my living room floor. This is where I'm going to be filming some lessons to go, or some videos to go with each of the lessons you all are going to be working on at home. There is not enough time to film the entire lesson, but I'm going to try filming the examples that I think students might have a little more trouble with. Or in this case, I'm going to kind of film like a summary lesson. So this video is for our first lesson we have on integer comparison and operations. I'm thinking this will kind of be like a summary of what that lesson talks about. So if you have not already, look through the notes on that lesson and then come back to this video. The lesson covers a couple things. It covers inequality signs like less than and greater than, and how you can compare integers. So comparing like a positive and a negative number with an inequality sign, comparing two negative numbers. And then the rest of the notes cover how you do math with negative numbers. So how you add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers. When I say the word integers, I'm talking about all these negative numbers here. What I've done is I've put a lot of problems that use similar numbers but are written in different ways as kind of a good summary of everything these notes talk about. So looking at the first one says 4 minus 3. This is probably something you already know how to do. If you have 4 minus 3, that's 4. Taking away 3 leaves you with 1. The important part for this is when you go to change the order, if you switch it around to 3 minus 4, thinking about if you have 3 as something and you try taking away 4, someone in your past probably told you you can't do that. You can do that, it just means it's getting into negatives. So if you think about places you've seen negatives in real life, like temperature or money, there is a way to do this. If your bank account said $3 and the bank wants to withdraw 4 or take away 4 from you, means your bank account goes into the negatives. It would end up being negative 1. If you think about temperature, if the temperature was 3 degrees and then it drops 4 degrees, well, that would be 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1. It gets into the negatives. So in the past, if you've ever had a teacher who said like, oh, you can't do that, you can, it just means it's negative. I put both of these here to really emphasize how important it is that you're paying attention to the order. If you've got 4 minus 3, you're taking a smaller number away from a bigger number, then you can subtract, it would be 1. But if you got something like 3 minus 4, you are now taking away a larger number. That larger number is the one with the minus sign or the negative sign. That's why it would end up being negative. Now, sometimes you'll see parentheses around negative numbers. I would read this out loud as 3 plus negative 4. The idea is the same. It's like you have $3 and you're adding in a debt of $4. These two problems here are the same problem, just written in different ways. But the answer would still be the same. It would be negative 1. Now, I've been talking about like money and temperature. You can also think about these using like integer rules that we've got in the notes that some students come to us knowing. Those rules say if you have different signs, like these, I've got a positive and a negative number. Different signs mean subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. Here, different signs, we've got a positive 4 and a negative 3. Different signs mean subtract, keep the sign of the larger number, which was positive. Different signs, subtract, keep the sign of the larger number. The 4 was larger, it was negative, so it would be negative 1. Those are a bunch of different examples of subtraction problems. Now, this last one had parentheses in it, but notice there was a plus sign between the 3 and the parenthesis. When we take that plus sign away, it changes what the problem is saying. This now says 3 times negative 4. If there is no sign, no plus or minus sign between that 3 and the parenthesis, it means multiplication. This means 3 times negative 4. Before this lesson, you probably already knew 3 times 4, that's 12. The new part to this is what you do when you're multiplying negative numbers. And there are 2 rules. The first rule says if they are different signs, so positive and negative, different signs means your answer is negative. If you're multiplying the same signs, so if they both had been positive or both had been negative, the answer would be positive. So for this case, I have a positive 3 and a negative 4 multiplying. They're different signs. It would be negative. Now for this next problem, I've got more parentheses. There's still no sign in between the parentheses. So I would still read it as -3 times -4. Still a multiplication problem. So 3 times 4, we know that part's 12. What about the sign? What do you think? We're multiplying a negative and a negative. That's going to give us a positive. So we get positive 12 for that one. There is one last type of problem in these notes, and that is what you do when you've got something like this. If I was reading this out loud, I would say 3 minus -4. So it's not multiplication anymore. It's not like these. But we've got this minus a negative number. There are two ways you can think about it. The first way is you've got a negative times a negative. We just said negative times negative gives you positive. This right here is the same thing as a positive sign. The other way you can think about it is just using the rule when you subtract a negative, subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding. Either way, it's going to change the way you think about it. Instead of thinking 3 minus -4, I want you to think 3 plus 4. 3 plus 4 is a lot easier to think about. 3 plus 4 is 7. 3 minus -4 is also 7. The part students struggle with this is this whole idea of like keep the sign of the larger number. Students might think, oh, well, 4 is larger, it's negative, my answer should be a negative. These two minus signs here are becoming a plus sign. So that 4 is actually a positive 4. What I think we should do is I'm going to write some problems on the board. If you want to pause the video, try them on your own. And I think that part's important. It's not just like watching me teach, but actually taking some time to try some on your own. And then you can resume the video and check to see if you got them right. So the ones I'm going to make up for you, let's do this one, this one, that one. Let's throw one of those in there. That, and let's do one more. There you go. Go ahead and pause this video now, try these problems, and then come back and we'll go over the answers. So click that pause button now. Okay, hopefully you actually tried them. We'll go through the answers. This first one, 10 minus 2, you guys know that. 10 minus 2 is 8. If you got it wrong, you're overthinking it. And the next one, -2 plus 10. Lots of different ways you can think of this, but this is the same thing as this. That one's also going to be an 8. You got a positive 10, you've got a -2. It's just switched around, but it means the same thing. If you're thinking about like money, this is like owing $2 and you have $10, so you would pay the $2 you owe and you would end up with 8. If you're using the rules, different signs mean you subtract. Keep the sign of the larger number. Lots of different ways you can get 8 for your answer. This next one was a multiplication problem. It would be -20. Negative because we have different signs. This next one here was a division problem. In the notes it said that if you write it as a fraction, that's another way to show division. This would be 5, because 10 divided by 2 is 5, but a positive 5 because we're dividing the same sign. The next one here, hopefully you caught there are 2 negative signs here, which means add. 10 plus 2 then becomes 12. And then the last one, we've got -2 plus -10. It's not a multiplication problem because there's that plus sign there. You've got -2 plus -10. You're just getting a bigger negative. It would be -12. If you're thinking of it like money, this is you owe $2. Now you owe another $10, so you owe a total of $12. If you're using the integer rules, same sign means add and keep the larger sign. Lots of different ways you can think of that one. I think in general students do better with the multiplying and dividing and struggle a little more with the adding and subtracting. So if you feel like you need more practice on these, please let us know. We can provide you with lots of practice. It's important to get these down though, just because negatives are half the numbers we have in math, and so they are not disappearing. We're going to keep seeing them in lesson after lesson after lesson. So If you feel like you need more resources to get a better understanding of these, please let us know or reach out to us during our tutoring times. We would love to help you. All that said, this is the end of the first video. Good luck with the lesson and all future lessons. I know it is not always the easiest thing to do these at home, but you guys are doing great, and there is an end to this. It's not going to be like this forever. So good luck, and I will see you tomorrow.